Hello and welcome to The Print. I'm Akanksha Mishra and this is Scientifix, where I will be taking you through this week's top science news from across the world. Let's start with arguably the biggest global conference on climate change, the UNFCCC's Conference of Parties, COP29, which is scheduled to begin in Baku, Azerbaijan on Monday. This year's COP is especially important because it's being called the Finance COP, where countries are going to get together to decide on many climate action funding mechanisms, including the new collective quantified goal on climate finance, the Adaptation Fund, loss and damages funding, and energy transition funding. India holds a particularly significant position as a climate leader from the global south, and it has previously estimated that developing countries need $1 trillion per year for climate action. That forms the basis of our position in negotiations at the COP, while also displaying our efforts at meeting our nationally determined contributions for the Paris Agreement, namely the major push for increasing our renewable energy capacity to 500 gigawatts by 2030. But negotiations and disagreements about the amount and the sources of climate financing from the developed world to the developing world are bound to take center stage at COP29. You can read those stories related to COP29 from our team on The Print. I'm also sharing some links in the description. Our next story takes us back 1900 years to the Pompeii volcanic eruption, when Mount Vesuvius destroyed numerous Roman towns, including Pompeii, after it erupted and covered the region in ash and volcanic deposits. However, the pumice lapis stones that were deposited by Mount Vesuvius actually preserved the entire city, including buildings, sculptures, paintings, and even the people as they were dying. Archaeologists then used plaster casts to recreate the human bodies of Vesuvius's victims and analyze their lifestyles, anatomy, and physiology. Now, a new paper in Current Biology published 7th November uses DNA samples from these preserved remains of Pompeii's residents to find that a lot of the cultural and community assumptions about Pompeii's human lives were actually wrong. For example, the remains of a child and an adult that were widely thought to be that of a mother and a child are actually that of an unrelated man and a child. Similarly, the remains called Two Maidens, which is famous and has thought to be of two sisters embracing, actually shows one of them is genetically a male. These DNA insights cast a whole new light on what social relationships used to be like in ancient Rome in Pompeii. Next up, we have a paper in Nature that explains how the Chinese Mars rover called Zhurong has found evidence of an ancient ocean on Mars, which existed about 3 billion years ago. The rover landed on Mars in 2021, and Chinese scientists have used data both from the rover and from remote sensing to look at the geological features along the landing site of the rover to analyze whether it is conducive to a water body. The study explains that they found features on Mars' southern Utopia region that resemble a shoreline, a shallow underwater region, and also a deeper marine zone. They also found rocks and sediments that were layered in a way that usually occurs only in watery environments. While the existence of the ocean remains a hypothesis, this study brings us one step closer to finding strong evidence to support this theory. Finally, we have an interesting story for you about a fungus fight club. That's right. It's a study by US scientists in PLOS pathogens that looks at the unique relationship between two common parasites of the Metarhizium genus. These fungi are known for their insect-killing abilities and are actually used in a bunch of pesticides and insecticides for agriculture. The study focuses on two specific fungi, Metarhizium robertsi and Metarhizium anisopliae, and how they don't compete with each other for nutrients inside a host. Instead, they use a divide and conquer approach. The scientists found that in a fly, the MR2575 parasite chooses to attack the thorax region, while the MA549 focuses on the abdomen region. In certain other insects too, the pathogens very deftly partition the resources and don't encroach on each other's turf. This is seminal and it has consequences for research not just on fungi but also on soil health, agriculture, pesticides, and food security. That's all we have for today. Thank you for tuning into The Print.